is connected to two. Hello, folks. Hello, hello, hello. It's been a while since I've done a live stream, so I am doing this. You guys give me a 1 if you guys can hear me okay. Let's do a little audio test to make sure that we are getting the proper audio. I got a lot to say, a lot to cover, and yeah. Give me a 1 if you guys can hear me okay. Give me a 1 if you guys can hear me okay. This is gonna be a live stream talking about the. Thank you. I see all your ones. Somerset, Brian, Blue Line, Don't Ask, Escobar, Elvis Herder. I see all you guys there. Let me turn off my phone so we don't get interrupted. We'll give people a few minutes to get in here. We're going to be talking about the arrest of John Gray. I'm going to give you an insight from me as a former cop. I'm going to be depending on my experience and my expertise and my knowledge of Texas law, Texas police policy regarding the arrest of John Gray. John Gray was arrested for interfering with a police officer's duties here in Texas. As you can see on the screen, the Angleton Police Department is the agency that arrested him. And I've provided their phone number at the very bottom. I did call them and ask them if there was a particular number that they would like for me to put out, so that if people had a reason to call, they could call. This is the only number they currently have at this time. It is the non-emergency number that reaches their dispatch department, and then from my experience, based on what you need, they can forward you to the appropriate person. So if you call them and you want to report a crime, they can handle that. It's non-emergency. If you have to, if you're in if you're in Angleton and you have an emergency, you should dial 911. And if it's not an emergency, you should not dial 911. So if there's something you hear or see here in this live stream and you feel you need to call the Angleton Police Department, it would not be proper to call 911 because that is only for emergencies. The proper number to call, if you want to give them a slap on the back and say good job for arresting John Gray, you would call 979-849-2383. If you want to call and tell them they are idiots for arresting John Gray, 979-849-2383. It's at the bottom of the screen. If you want to call and ask a general question, again, the number to call is 979-849-2383. Currently, they do not have any alternate numbers. I just spoke with them just minutes ago prior to starting the live stream. And I told them that I would be doing a live stream and I would like to put out an alternate number if they had one, so that folks could leave a voicemail and such. Maybe an email address, anything at all. They said this is the only number that we can call if we want to talk to them about this incident. So for now, that is the number, 979-849-2383. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I am eating dinner because I ordered dinner and then I got some notifications that Angleton Police Department is still continuing with their tyranny and their ignorance of the law. And I said, man, I got to get on here and talk about this as soon as possible, even if it means interrupting my pizza. Guys, I did get some stuffed crust pizza from Papa John's. I have a combination, so it's got everything on it. And I put some pineapple on it. Don't hold that against me. They have the stuffed crust now. Like they have this cheese inside the crust, and it is so good. So forgive me for eating while I'm doing my live stream. I'm not as advanced as some of the other folks, but just bear with me. I'm a fat boy. I like to eat. So let's talk about what happened to John Gray. John Gray was arrested recently by the Angleton Police Department. He was charged with interfering with the duties of a public servant. In Texas, it is in fact against the law to interfere with a public servant. So let's first talk about what that law says. I'm going to try to give you guys my computer screen so y'all can see what's on my screen. So just give me a second to do that. I'm not the best at this, so I got to move that up here, and then I got to transition that over. Man, Angleton phone number's off, desktop camera's off, image 2 is off, and then I should be able to transfer what's on my screen. I know that's coming in blank, so just give me a moment. Man, how do I do that? So computer display. Man, I'm just not as good at this as I thought. Well, you know what? I'll just go back and I'll put on everything else. It seemed like I could just do the screen share, but apparently that doesn't want to let me do that. Let me try to remove that. Let me do add display capture. Maybe that's what it is. Display capture. Click OK. And then, yeah, man, I don't understand why there's no display capture on here. So anyway, all right, but that's okay. I can just read to you guys what's on the screen, so it's really not a problem. So in Texas, Chapter 38 of the Penal Code, if you guys that are following along, if you go to Chapter 38 of the Texas Penal Code, it's called, the charge is called interference with the duties of a public servant. The proper title is 38.15, interference with public duties. In that subchapter, it says a person commits an offense if the person with criminal negligence interrupts, disrupts, impedes, or otherwise interferes with a peace officer while the peace officer is performing a duty or exercising authority imposed or granted by law. Now, this officer that you saw in the video of John Gray's arrest was performing a duty. The officer was exercising an authority that the officer does have, whether you agree with it or not. And that authority was granted by law. And that is the authority to conduct a traffic stop for a violation that the officer says they observe. So, in essence, we have the first part of that law checked. It's there. But that's not where it stops. There's more to the law. When officers are making a decision to arrest somebody for interference with public duties, they don't just read the first couple of sentences. You have to read the whole law, because the whole law is what you're applying to John Gray and Jack Miller and any other person that they come into contact with. They're applying the whole law, not just the parts they like. So it's not just interfering with public duties if a person interferes. There's more to it than that, because there's some people that are exempt from being charged with this crime. There are some behaviors that may interfere with a police officer, but the law allows those behaviors to go on without subjecting the person to criminal prosecution. For example, if you notice, 3815 says interference with public duties. A person commits an offense if the person impedes, disrupts, or otherwise interferes with a peace officer. A medical services provider, i.e. EMS, can't go interfere with them. A firefighter, you can't interfere with them if they're fighting a fire or investigating the cause of a fire. an animal under the supervision of a peace officer, corrections officer, or jailer, if the person knows the animal is being used for law enforcement, corrections, prisons, or jail security or investigative purposes. So you cannot even interfere with their dog. Yeah. If you interfere with the transmission of a communication over a citizens band radio channel. That's right, if you get on the radio and you start interfering with their communications, that is all called interfering with duties. An animal control officer, the dog catcher, you cannot interfere with them. If you do, that is interfering with duties. A person who has responsibility for assessing, enacting, or enforcing public health or safety measures for the state or county municipality. So for these little Gestapo, little Hitlers that run around writing people mask violation tickets and writing businesses tickets because they're not enforcing social distancing, you cannot interfere with them either any more than you can interfere with a police officer. And it goes on to name some other folks. It also says, it goes on to tell you that if you commit this offense, it is a Class B misdemeanor. This is all part of the law. Because when the police officer arrests you, well, they need to know, do they write you a ticket or do they take you to jail? And so the law has to state what kind of misdemeanor this is. So a Class B misdemeanor means you take them to jail. Class C misdemeanor would mean that you write them a ticket. Now, here's the meat of the whole thing regarding John Gray. Subsection C, the very bottom of the interfering with duties law. It says, it is a defense to prosecution under this section that the interruption, disruption, impediment, or interference alleged consisted of speech only. Let me repeat that. It is a defense to prosecution that the interference consisted of speech only. That is in our law in Texas. What that means is that, just like it says, it's a defense to prosecution. Now, we can go into what the legal definition of defense to prosecution is. It's in the penal code. And you don't have to be a dumbass lawyer from California. You don't have to be a lawyer at all. All you have to do is be able to read and comprehend what you're reading. You need to know what interruption and disruption and impediment and interference is. You can look that up in the dictionary. Hell, I have a GED and I was able to find that pretty quick. It'll tell you what the definition is of all those things. Defense to prosecution, that's the ringer though. I can tell you from my experience as a police officer, most police have an idea of what defense to prosecution mean, and most of them get it wrong. Perhaps the legislator needs to make this law, and when they make this law, when they get to this part, they need to write it in crayon, in nice big letters, nice and slow, what the meaning of defense to prosecution is. That means, and they should write this in crayon so the cops can understand, do not arrest. That's what defense to prosecution means. It's telling the police, and the police are taught this in training. The average citizen doesn't know this. A class called Legislative Updates. The officer receives that every year, 2 years, every time new laws comes out. And what they do is they say, here's the new laws, and here are the defenses to prosecution. And they say these are the defenses to prosecution because they're telling the police, do not arrest people for these things if they enjoy a defense to prosecution. And the matter of John Gray, he was across the street. He spoke. That's all he did. He spoke. Doesn't matter what the police officer was doing, albeit the police officer was shining a light in his camera, and we all know that that is not a good thing to do if you're an officer, right? It interferes with the person's First Amendment rights. But we're not talking about whether or not John Gray had a First Amendment right. We're not talking about whether or not his civil rights were violated. That's a topic for another discussion. What we're talking about tonight is a police officer's perspective on the law of interfering with a police officer and what the Texas law says about that particular allegation. So in a nutshell, yes, John Gray was interrupting the officer. No doubt about it. The officer had to turn around. The officer had to address John Gray. And then John Gray didn't shut up. John Gray kept talking, speaking. And it disrupted the officer. It interrupted the officer. But Texas law says it is a defense to prosecution under this section that the interruption, disruption, impediment, or interference alleged consisted of speech only. Now, I know what you're saying. I know what a lot of people are saying. Some people can get it. Those that don't need it written in crayon get it. But for those of you right now that are watching, whether you're a subscriber and you need to see it in crayons, whether you're a non-subscriber, you need to see it in crayons, or whether you're a bootlicker or a cop that seeing it in crayon might convince you, it might be easier for you to understand. Let me explain. Defense to prosecution, police will say, and in fact, Sergeant Parsons, Parsons from the Angleton Police Department, I spoke to him last night about 4:30 in the morning. I woke up, took a leak, and I said, you know what, let me call Angleton. Let me call Angleton and talk to him for a minute. Kind of like calling a booty call. So I call up there and then I ask them about defense to prosecution. What does that mean? And they didn't want to answer any questions, but I got the dumbass to talk anyway. And we talked, and Sergeant Parsons said a defense to prosecution means this is something that you can bring up at your trial. That's right, at your trial. No, that is not correct. What that is, something you can bring up at your trial, is what's called an affirmative defense to prosecution. See, in Texas law, there are two types of defenses. There are defenses that are called a defense to prosecution, and then there are defenses that are called an affirmative defense to prosecution. Affirmative defenses to prosecution are something the defendant can, they don't have to, but they can bring that up at their trial. And if it is proven beyond the 50%, i.e. getting into a reasonable doubt, then the defendant enjoys a dismissal based on the affirmative defense. That is something that happens at trial. But a defense to prosecution means you do not arrest. Now, I know there's still a couple of people right now watching and saying, Jack's full of shit. Defense to prosecution is something that you bring up at court. I have a response for you. If you're one of those people who think in Texas law that defense to prosecution is something that you bring up at trial, well, let me ask you this. Chapter 46 of our penal code makes it a felony to bring a handgun into a courtroom. Now, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. It's a felony to bring... Everybody listen. I know you're typing and making comments, but I want y'all to listen to this. This is extremely important. Chapter 46 makes it a felony to bring it into a courtroom, to bring a handgun into a courtroom. Now, what would you think if the police walked into a courtroom in Angleton Monday morning and arrested a judge because the judge had a handgun on them? And then told the judge, well, judge, the fact that you're allowed to bring a handgun into the courtroom is something that you can bring up at your trial. You see, Texas law doesn't, everybody knows a judge can bring a gun into a courtroom. But the law doesn't say a judge can bring a handgun into a courtroom. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that a judge is exempt from that law in Chapter 46. Look it up, Chapter 46, Places Weapons Prohibited. It lists courtrooms as a places weapons prohibited, but when it comes to judges, they have a defense to prosecution. Just like John Gray, it is a defense to prosecution that the interference consisted of speech. Well, it is a defense to prosecution that the person in possession of a handgun in a courtroom is a judge. See how that works? Do you see the nexus in between the two? A judge does not get arrested because it is a defense to prosecution that he is a judge. So the police do not arrest him. Can't arrest him. Could you imagine if a police officer walked in and arrested a judge for a felony for having a handgun in the courtroom? People would say, that's ridiculous. You can't do that. Why can't they do that? Because Texas law says that there is a defense to prosecution that the person is a judge. So they don't get arrested, and police are charged and trained that they do not arrest judges in the courtroom with handguns. The same applies to John Gray or any citizen who is interfering with a police officer's duties, and their actions consist of speech only. It's a defense to prosecution. It's right there in the law. It's in black and white. Do we need to make it in green and purple and in crayon so our police will understand? Maybe it's easier for them to read. Do we have to have some first grade teachers come in and teach the police officers rather than police that have instructor certifications? Maybe that's too complicated for our cops to understand. So I'm here to tell you, if you can find me a case where a person was charged with interfering with police in Texas, and they argued that their conduct consisted of speech only, and their conduct in fact consisted of speech only, and they were convicted, well then I'll close my mouth forever. I've been charged with interfering with the police. And my interference was a little bit more harsh and a little bit more in your face, if you will, than John Gray will ever be. And my cases were dismissed because even though my conduct was extreme and made people feel uncomfortable, and according to an officer's affidavit, caused them to not be able to concentrate on their call, and they lost the ability to interrogate a suspect. It was dismissed because my conduct consisted of speech only. So I just wanted to point it out to you guys that Angleton Police Department has screwed the pooch. A judge can carry a handgun in a courthouse because it is a defense to prosecution that he is a judge. John Gray or anybody else can interfere with the police as long as the interference consists of speech only, because the law provides it's a defense to prosecution that the interference consisted of speech only. And this is in Texas. This is Texas law only. So please don't go around Arkansas or New York thinking the same thing. You need to check with your local laws. But in Texas, I can interfere with a police officer's duties. Absolutely. It's clear as day. I can interfere. I can interrupt them as long as the interruption or interference consists of speech only. If somebody can, all you trolls out there, you've heard it straight from the horse's mouth. If you can find some convincible law here in Texas that proves me otherwise, you get nothing, but it's worth the try. So News Now Permian Basin has a question. I'll go ahead and entertain some questions for you guys and try to clear up a little bit of the confusion. So News Now Permian Basin says, what about sections D1 and D2 of subsection D of 3815? So let's look up Texas Penal Code 3815. Texas Oh, shit. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I hit the space button by mistake. Yeah, I know. Sometimes I accidentally hit the space button or the space button and it mutes me. It's a stupid feature because the space button is right here by your hands. And I think it's a dumb feature. But anyway, sorry about that. It has nothing to do with my intelligence. My hands just hurt. I just hit the space bar. So, Michael Smith. Michael Smith, you're a muted genius. Bye, Michael. Nobody gets to hear from you ever again. That was fun. All right. Yeah, if I have any mods in here, you're definitely okay to. Anybody that talks any crap, just hide them from the channel. Make them start a new channel to get on there and talk again. Hopefully they learn their lesson. But what I was saying was that did you guys hear the part about somebody asked about what about if you release personal information? They were asking about subsection D 1 and 2. We're not going to talk about that right now. That's unrelated to John Gray's arrest. John Gray's arrest was for interfering with the duties. And if interfering, you can interfere with the police. It's a defense to prosecution if your interference consisted of speech only. And in this case, John Gray's interference consisted of speech only. I'm not saying he did not interfere. He did. But our law, whether you like it or not, says you can do that. It says it's a defense to prosecution that your actions consisted of speech only. And this is not something that you have to bring up later at court. It's applied on the spot when the officer is making the decision to arrest you. How do I know this? Well, because everybody knows judges can carry guns in a courtroom. And the reason they aren't arrested is because the law says it is a defense to prosecution that they are a judge. So the police don't arrest them. Well, Angleton Police say that defense to prosecution means that John Gray can bring it up into court later. But when I say, well, then why don't you arrest a judge for having a gun in the courtroom? They enjoy the same thing John does. It's a defense to prosecution. They are a judge, so you can still arrest him, right? Then they don't want to talk anymore and they want to hang up. Does everybody understand what defense to prosecution is and what it's not? Does anybody have any questions about the fact that I say a defense to prosecution is not something you bring up in court later? This is something the police officers have to apply at the time. That is what they're supposed to do. It's a defense to prosecution that the person is a judge if they have a gun in a courtroom. So if I call the police and I say I just saw that the judge has a gun in the courtroom, should they arrest the judge? I know some people would like to see them arrest the judge, but let's be realistic here. If you see a police officer in a courtroom with a gun, or a bailiff in the courtroom with a gun, and you call the police, should they arrest the bailiff? The answer is no. Why? Is it because the law says they can't? No, the law does not say anything about that. The law says it is a defense to prosecution that they are a bailiff. It is a defense to prosecution that they are a police officer. So then if it's a defense to prosecution that interference consists of speech only, then why is it okay to arrest a person interfering with the police? Seems like the same thing, right? If it's a defense to prosecution that you're a police officer in a courtroom with a gun, you don't get arrested. Then if your interference consists of a speech only, then you shouldn't be arrested, right? Am I missing something? Am I missing something? As far as I can tell, the live stream is going, so give me a 1 if you can hear me and you can see me okay. Give me a 1 if you can hear me and see me okay. So I can't do anything about the video freezing, so let me go through some. Cops don't care about what's right. So Snapface says cops don't care about what's right. They're about control. Absolutely. News Now Permian Basin says, I need clarification on this. Please email me at your convenience. News Now Permian Basin, you're just going to have to contact me through email. I'll try my best to get back with you on that topic that you were trying to ask about. It's not that I don't want to answer you or I don't want to look into it. I don't know enough about that to really speak on it so much accurately, and I like to be as accurate as I can. But if you contact me via email, you know my email, txjack72@gmail.com. Send it to me and I'll try my best to discuss it with you to the best of my abilities. Thank you, free citizens of Texas, for your $9.99 super chat. Schools in session, Teacher Jack. Yeah, I like to teach, and man, I was looking at this arrest of John Gray, and it just made me nauseous because this isn't a situation where the police are, going to be able to go in and say they made a mistake. I'm here to tell you, I've been through the same training they have. There is no mistake made here. They are taught what defense to prosecution is. They all know that a person can run their mouth, they can open their cock holster, they can talk crap all day long while you're making an arrest or you're on a traffic stop or doing anything else. And you can't do anything to them. Every cop knows this. This is not a mistake. Angleton Police Department is acting maliciously. They're acting intentionally. If you watch the video, they immediately told him, Mr. Gray, you know the law. They knew who he was. They knew who he was. The chief put out a public release, a statement, explaining that they knew who he was. And there's never been a problem, so they can't say that they were scared of him. They knew what he was doing. And John Gray's actions consisted of speech only. And defense to prosecution means the police don't arrest. That's what they're trained. I'm here to tell you. Believe me? Don't believe me? I don't give a rat's ass. But I'm telling you, all of you know, or you should know, all the trolls have pulled up all my records. Yeah, I was a jailer, but I was also a peace officer. A jailer in 1993, a peace officer in 1994. And I ceased to be one in 2007, about 13 years. And I picked up a few things. One of the things I picked up is that interfering with a police officer when it consists of speech only is not something that you can arrest somebody for. Now, I was able to read the black and white section out of the penal code, but I'm going to tell you, I've worked with partners who literally needed it written in fucking crayons. They were dumber than a box of rocks. And to get anything through their head, not just interfering, but anything, they needed to be taught with crayons. And they still didn't get it half the time. There's some stupid cops out there, let me tell you. Alex says, so what happens next? I don't know. I'm not down there. I can't get down there. And 18-year Leo veteran says Gray got arrested and his charges will probably be dropped. What's the big deal? Yeah, 18. Look, okay, Leo veteran, 18-year Leo veteran. I'm assuming that you're implying that you're some type of law enforcement officer veteran. It would be nice if you would email me sometime, txjack72@gmail.com. We can talk, and, if you claim to be a cop, if you are actually a cop, I'd like to have conversations with you about this and figure out if you're one of those people who I had in my patrol car that were dumber than a box of rocks, or if you have half a brain or even more of the brain than I do. But anyway, 18-year Leo veteran says Gray got arrested and his charges will probably be dropped. What's the big deal? I'll tell you what, why don't you come to my house, let me handcuff you, lock you up in my closet for about 12, 13 hours, and then let you go. Hell, you won't even face charges. And then explain to us what the big deal is. Now, if I can throw handcuffs on you and throw you in my closet for about 12, 13 hours, let you back out on the fucking street, and you say it's not a big deal, then I might entertain your question about what's the big deal with John Gray. John Gray got arrested. He got locked up in jail for a very long time, and he got released, and he didn't do anything wrong. Now, I suppose if you came over to my house and you were standing out on my sidewalk, and I went out there and put you in cuffs and threw you in my closet, and then, the next day let you out on that sidewalk, it probably would be a big deal to you, right? Because, number one, I didn't have any right to do that to you. It was illegal. That's the big deal. They didn't have any right to do that to John. He was not committing a crime. And it was illegal for them to do that to John. That's what the big deal is, knucklehead. 18-year Leo veteran. You know what, 18-year Leo veteran? I'm just going to remove you from this channel because you're an idiot. All right. The big deal, big idiot, was that he got arrested. Thank you, Racing Andy. Thank you for that. 18-year veteran, how are you kidding me? What's the big deal? That's all right. Leo veteran's going to have to make a new channel. He can change it to 18.2-year Leo veteran. Fuckface. Anyway, News Now Permian Basin. I'll try to get to that email as soon as I can. And not only did they arrest John Gray, but they towed his car that was legally parked on private property. It's another Leon Valley. They deserve some attention. They deserve to be questioned. They should address this situation. I've called them a few times with various questions that I've had, and I can tell you they're another Leon Valley. They're just a piece of crap department, and they're a little small town, and they're very cocky, and they really don't care about the law. I get it. There's some people in their city that appreciate them, and you're not going to be able to do anything about that, and that shouldn't even be the issue. If the cops have done something good for somebody, then you can't blame that person for liking those cops. Unless those people see something egregious like this done to a fellow citizen. And they should say something, right? But you know what? That's just human nature. People are self-serving. They only care about things when it happens to them. So, if it happens to John Gray, well, our police officers are great because they came out one time, for whatever reason, and helped me out. And what happened to John Gray ain't a big deal. Unless it happens to my mijo. Then if it happens to my mijo, then it's a big problem. Yeah. Okay, so if it happens to my kid, my son, then it's a problem. Well, extra good citizen, I'm going to give you a wrench. Because I'm not a little bitch. I didn't know you didn't have a wrench. I don't know why you don't have a wrench, but there you go, extra good citizen. And that's the way it should work on everybody's channel. If somebody like extra good citizen had a wrench, and now they don't have a wrench, and they're like, I'm missing my wrench, there shouldn't be a lot of girly stuff about that. Just give them the wrench back. Somebody needs to tell Justin Pulliam, I need my wrench back. I lost my wrench and I want my wrench. Either that or at least give me a plaque that says best wrench ever, 2020 to 2021. Come on, Justin. Let's look at some of these comments right here. I got about 15 minutes left to talk to you guys, and then I got to head out and remind the cops why they need to treat people well. I'll be doing that tonight. But anyway, I'm looking at that. Michigan, a man was arrested. Yeah, so BSTH says a Michigan man was arrested for getting signatures for petitions. That deputy was just fired. Great. Yeah, I mean, we win one, we lose one. We win one, we lose one. Right, guys? You can't win them all. Papa John's Pizza, stuffed crust. Great stuff. The only thing, I got my pizza, I got my Kool-Aid. All I need is the hood of a cop's truck, and then it's all set. But for right now, I got to use a plate. No sound again? God damn it, man. No, if you don't have sound, that's on you. I can see sound. So, I can see sound. That's all got to be on you. DG1, good choice for a mod. Yeah, John Gray. I like John Gray. John Gray, I've spent some time with him. Although we don't work a lot together, I spent a lot of time with him behind the scenes. A lot of times when he was at Leon Valley, I was there. I just wasn't on any videos. He's a good guy, man. Very good principal. You know, all of us, no matter who we are going to do some things that you may not like from time to time. And I would say just get on our comment section. Let us know about it. Let us know how you feel. And we may or may not modify how we do things. I'm a man of principles, so my principles are what are more important than what anybody thinks. But yeah, John is definitely a good guy, man. So just all the way around. An extra good citizen, if you want to delete somebody that you see you don't like the comment, man, knock them out, bro. If they're being stupid, pow, knock them out. That's what I do. Half of the ones that I hide from the channel, I don't even say nothing about. Let's see here. Shard ever says Justin got hacked, so he pulled all the wrenches and gave a few back. Just ask him for one. Yeah, I've asked him for one several times. I don't know what his deal is. I think I might have been saying some things that were out of his comfort zone. And, you know, if that was the case, you know, I apologize for that. But, you know, I'll do better next time. But taking somebody's wrench, man, that's like slapping somebody with 10 years for speeding. Come on, man. Do you know how many nights of sleep I lost because I lost my wrench? I had nightmares about where my wrench is. Like I was running in slow motion in my nightmare, and I was grabbing for the wrench, and it was just out of my sight. And then I grabbed it, and it didn't work. I had nightmares about that stuff. Ron Wade says, don't eat in front of a camera. This is to you, Ron Wade. I'm hungry, I'm a fat boy, and I gotta eat. I'm sorry. Wadachi Running Free says, that's why you don't see me. Well, fuck you, Jack. I don't understand what that means, but... Does anybody know what Wadachi Running Free is talking about? I don't know what he's talking about. I must have missed a comment somewhere. I put a 30-second delay on the comment so I could try to keep track of a lot of them, but damn, they're still running through here. So let's see. Savaggio seems to be completely unaware of 3802, so maybe I'm wrong. Somebody can't be that stupid. Somebody can be that stupid. Yeah, Savaggio said in another one of his city council meetings that you can be arrested if you're detained as a witness. That is completely wrong. You know, the thing about lying, I tell my kids one of the things that they should consider if they tell a lie is that when you tell a lie, you have to tell a lie to cover that lie up, and then now you got two lies that you have to tell two more lies to cover up those two lies. Now you got 4 lies, and you got to do 4 more. Next thing you know, you got 8 lies you're telling. And it's hard to keep track of all the lies. So Joe must have forgot that he testified in federal court that it was against the law to not identify if you were a witness, and he got tore up by our attorney. I mean, he got tore up bad on that. And here he goes again, running his mouth. I mean, to his credit, it seems like he has at least one brain cell, because he did at one time say something like, "Hey, attorney, I don't think I should be talking about this." Everything he just said, like there wasn't anything else to talk about. He just realized the next thing you know, he'd be over there saying how it's appropriate to say the N-word because he asked some black people in Leon Valley if it was okay to say the N-word. Remember that one? He came out on the news and told the news the reason he hired the officer that used the N-word like 14 times during an arrest was because he consulted with a black city council member, a black police, all of his African-American police officers, and a clergyman, and they said it was okay to use the N-word. Just so you know, I've spoken to all those guys that he says he talked to, and none of them said that it was okay. All right? We'll release that stuff later. But Joe Salvaggio lied about talking to African-American officers in his department and them saying that it was okay to use the N-word. He lied about that. He's an idiot. Anyway. And Joe Owen says, and you have to remember the lies to keep them straight versus just remembering the truth. Absolutely. I'm not sure, News Now Permian Basin, are we going to Leon Valley this weekend? I'm always over there. I imagine I've racked up 100 red light camera flashes in the past year, and I haven't got one summons. I guess they don't want me to have to be on their court docket. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but maybe they don't have my address. But I haven't gotten any summons for running their red light cameras. Well, let me rephrase that. Making their red light cameras flash. I don't run red lights. I just take my front bumper and put it over the white line, and the cameras flash. I'm sure they'll have a real good reason for not summoning me to their court. Yeah, police can lie. That's right. They can lie. But the Supreme Court says the police can lie to you and tell you that you have to identify if you're a witness. But the Supreme Court doesn't say that they can arrest you for refusing to provide ID as a witness. That's the difference. They can tell you can be arrested. Hell, the Supreme Court says it's okay for police to tell you that you can be arrested for chewing bubble gum. But they don't say the police can actually arrest you for that. So, Del Regal, remember that. Yeah, I don't like to talk. Let's talk about John Gray. What do y'all think about John Gray's arrest? Should he have been arrested for interfering with public duties? We've all saw the video. John Gray was across the street. Not that he had to be. That's just where he was. The lady said that she didn't like being recorded. We've heard that 100 times. John Gray didn't cuss at her. John Gray said, okay. The officer walks up and throws a light in John Gray's camera, which we know they shouldn't be doing. And what does John Gray do? He runs his mouth. And what does he say? Take the light out of my camera. And he advises the officer that he's violating his First Amendment rights. And he gets arrested for that. Because the officer has a 2-second attention span. Jesus Christ, it's like arresting me for giving you a donut and arresting me for making you fat. Number one, it's not against the law to make you fat. And number two, it's not my fault you're fat, officer. That's your fault. And it's not entrapment The law says merely affording you the opportunity to eat a donut does not constitute entrapment. Right, the arrest was a joke. Complete bullshit. So, can y'all let Angleton know that Jack Miller sent you? With the question. And this is the question, guys. This is the question. Jack Miller and his friends want to know, why is it that you don't arrest judges for carrying guns in a courtroom when it's only a defense to prosecution, but you arrest citizens for filming you when they have the same defense to prosecution? It's not like they don't want to talk about it. They issued a 2-page press release. So let them know. The number's on the screen, 979-849-2383. And for those guys that are just joining, this is the only number that they have to call them about this incident. I called them just before making this live stream and asked them if they had an alternate way of communicating with the city regarding this incident, an alternate number, anything. They said this was the only number that they had. Normally I don't put phone numbers up, but in this case I believe that there's a lot of people in the public that have a lot of questions. You may not have internet where you can go search a lot of things. Maybe you're limited on your data or whatever. So here it is. I'm providing it to you. Their public phone number. This is straight from a Google search. This 979-849-2383 is their non-emergency number. And per their dispatch at this number, as of 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on 1/23/21, this is the only number that they have to talk about this issue. So Jake says, what about Texas Penal Code 2.03? So let's look up Texas. Damn it! Damn it. I hit the space bar. Fuck, man. I gotta really do something about this. Andy, remind me not to hit the space bar. Right. So somebody asked about chapter 2.03. Somebody asked about chapter 2.03 of the Texas Penal Code. So we're going to go to Texas 2.03, and 2.03 says a defense to prosecution for an offense in this code is so labeled by the phrase, it is a defense to prosecution. Then it goes on to say that the prosecuting attorney is not required to negate the existence of a defense in the accusation charging the commission of the offense. The issue of the existence of a defense is not submitted to the jury unless evidence is admitted supporting the defense. The issue of the existence of a defense is submitted to the jury. The court shall charge that a reasonable doubt on the issue requires that the defendant be acquitted. A ground of defense in a penal law that is not plainly labeled in accordance with this chapter has the procedural and evidentiary consequences of a defense. So this is confusing to most people. And if it's confusing to most people, then it's confusing to most cops. Because cops are just like you. With the exception that they are taught and trained on how to read these laws and understand them. And they have virtually limitless resources to help their dumb ass understand this simple stuff. The only thing, and police officers are taught this in their training course. This is not new to them. It may be new to you. It is not new to them. I've been through the same training, and I've been through this training. Close the door, please. Don't make any sounds. I've been through the same training. And what is taught during training is that the issue of the existence of a defense is submitted to the jury. The court shall charge that a reasonable doubt on the issue requires a defendant be acquitted. This is the part where it tells the police don't make the arrest because the judge charges the jury that the defendant shall be acquitted. And it does not require anyone to do anything. The only thing that has to happen is the defense brings it up. The defense brings it up. In other words, it's just saying that no, a person will not get a conviction if they enjoy this defense. That doesn't mean that now we go and arrest judges for having guns in the courtrooms. Because a judge has a defense to prosecution. It's in the law. Can somebody tell me? And even you're the one asking the question about 2.03. So tell me something. Tell me something. Do judges enjoy a defense to prosecution? Do we go and arrest them for having a gun in the courtroom? And don't be stupid. If you come with a stupid comment, I'm just going to delete you because you're wasting my time. Do we arrest judges? Do we arrest judges who have a defense to prosecution because they are a judge? Do we arrest judges? Do we arrest bailiffs in the courtroom? The law only says it is a defense to prosecution if you're a bailiff. It doesn't say if you're a bailiff you can carry a gun. It doesn't say that the law doesn't apply to you. It says it is a defense to prosecution under Chapter 46 that if you are a bailiff and you have a gun. And Big Earl, we're not talking about, you can use it but still found guilty. We're not this is about John Gray's arrest for interference with public duties by Angleton Police Department. We're not talking about all of the innocent people that are in jail. You're trying to fight too many fights. You can't fight them all. Somerset Hiscari, okay, no problem. You didn't know. That's why you asked. Right, 203 tells a prosecutor. 203 is communicating to the prosecutor. Part of that law there mostly is for the prosecution. Right, so Graham says that if he was a police officer, he would arrest any judge or another cop. I get it, man. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is should John Gray have been arrested? The law says it is a defense to prosecution if it's speech only. The law about carrying guns in a court says it's a defense to prosecution if you're a bailiff. We don't arrest the bailiffs for having a gun in the courtroom, so why should we arrest John Gray for that? Why? It's what our law says. Like it or not, it's what the law says. There is no way that I push the space bar. Look, I get it. Some of the trolls, they're saying, hey, you pushed the space bar again, so I'll go check. But I actually have a meter that tells me it's a meter for my voice. I can actually turn it up. I can adjust it. I can make it louder like I just did. I actually made it louder, and it's probably a little too loud now. But anyway. So do we arrest John Gray for interfering when it's a defense to prosecution, that the interference consisted of speech only? I don't think so. Reno Flames, he should not have been arrested, period. Absolutely. BSTH, no, he should not have been arrested. Gonzo Texan. So, guys, I'm just going to urge you to, if you have a question, a comment, a concern concerning the arrest of this citizen by the name of John Gray, who goes by Extra Good Citizen on YouTube. If you have any of those things that you need to ask the Angleton Police Department about, you certainly can go there at 104 Cannon Drive, Angleton, Texas 77515. You can send them mail to that same address. Just say Angleton Police Department in care of John Gray incident. Title it to the police chief. It'll be disseminated from there to the proper person to respond to you, or the proper person to throw it in the trash. Or you can call 979-849-2383. I really would like you to email me a copy of the phone call, the conversation. That would be great. It doesn't matter if it was a great conversation or not. And if 979-849-2383, if you call that number, if you can record the conversation and email it to me at txjack72@gmail.com, txjack72@gmail.com, I would love to get a copy of that. I would like to get a copy of that phone call. I'll bring the volume down a little bit. Sorry about that, folks. There you go. Dwayne Manziel says he should not have been prosecuted in Texas. The line in the law says it is a defense if speech only clearly means the arrest was unlawful. That's a little hard to understand, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, the presumption of innocence, we know that that's a joke. If you're arrested, you're guilty. It's as simple as that. There's been scientific studies on that. I might have cursed. BSTH. Hey, man, I'm just pronouncing the screen name. Yeah, so anyway, that's going to be the end of the live stream, guys. I got to get out, and it's Saturday night. I'm going to get out and watch some of these cops out there, make sure they're treating the citizens right. I'll be out there working with HBO Matt, SA210 Cop Watch. I'll put it in the section here. Right. SA210 Cop Watch. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Sorry. I guess you guys don't know me for the whole he keeps hitting the space bar kind of thing. What happens is my computer is right here, okay? And my keyboard is right here. And I'm talking and my finger hits the space bar. So maybe you guys can email me and give me some ideas on how to not hit that space bar. But anyway, god dang it, man. Y'all didn't miss anything. I was just running my mouth. What I was saying was free speech. Certainly there are a lot of free speech implications here in this situation where John Gray was arrested. But what I was wanting to talk to you guys tonight about was the implications of Texas law in this matter. I mean, Texas law in this matter is important because unlike other arrests where oh my gosh, folks are arrested. Shut the door.
Political Tribune.
So the other guy I'll be working with tonight is Political Tribune.
Tribune.
Yeah, we know why it happened. So, free speech, absolutely. There are some violations there. But the problem is that the Texas law also is at play here. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, was the Texas law behind what happened. And what the Texas law says regarding what happened. That was important to go over. Okay. So Big Earl says Gray wasn't arrested for speech. He was arrested for his light. I didn't see any light being displayed, Big Earl. So does Big Earl want to tell us where he got his facts for the light? Gray wasn't arrested for Gray was arrested for his light. Also, Gray extra good citizen. Did you use your light during that arrest? I'm gonna go ahead and just hide Big Earl from the channel because he's an idiot. He's just wanting to spread disinformation, and I'm the Zuckerberg of TX Sheepdog72 when it comes to troll your block, dickweed. Will Rockstar wants my email, so I'm gonna put it on txjack72@gmail.com. That is my email right there if you guys want to email. Don't worry about Big Earl, he's gone. I got rid of him. Yeah, I can tell you John Gray didn't use his light, but even if he did, a light, a sign, a sound, an expression is not interfering. As far as the light goes, I use a light, and I know a lot of people start using a light, and that's fine and dandy. I can't tell you what to do or what not to do. or really how to do something. The only thing I can tell you is what I do and why I do it. And when I shine a light at a police officer, if you notice, it is only after I have told the police officer to stop using their light. And if you notice, they are using it is the situations where they are using their light inappropriately. There are often times that officers shine their light at me and I don't shine anything back at them or even say anything, because they walk up, they use their light to see. They're not shining it in my face or in my camera, and I'm okay with that. But the minute they start shining it in my eyes, in my camera, and they do not have a legit reason to do that, then I warn them, turn off your light. And then when they say no, then I turn on my light. And basically, we just keep the lights on. Until we turn the lights off. So, is that interfering? Nope, it's not. Police just don't get to come up and shine lights into people's faces, in their houses, in their cars. No more or no less than I can shine lights in their faces and in their police stations' houses and in their cars. We're both okay doing it. It's not assault, or else the cop can be charged with assaulting me with his light. That's ridiculous. It's not assault. It's not going to cause you blindness. We're just shining lights. Okay, we're just shining lights. So what? News Now Houston says, John had no light and did not cross the road. We went back and measured. He was over 30 feet away. So there's your facts. No worries, News Now Houston. That knucklehead got nixed right away. I took him off the channel. He'll have to create a new channel to make another stupid comment, and then he can get blocked out again. But yeah, John had no light and did not cross the road. So, that's that. I'm glad News Now Houston joined in and made a comment. Guys, I can tell you that when John Gray was in jail, there was no doubt that John Gray knew that there were very qualified and capable people ensuring that everybody knew where John was, did everything they could to make sure he was safe, and were feverishly working to secure his release from jail. There was no doubt about that in John Gray's mind, and that's that. So a big shout out to those guys, News Now Houston, News Now Patrick, and Justin Pulliam, for being there on scene with boots on the ground, doing what they could do to help him out. I wasn't going to release a video until midweek concerning this, and there will be one coming out, but I just felt compelled to get on and talk about the aspect of defense to prosecution, and as it pertains to John Gray's arrest. So, guys, I need to go. I need to get out and watch these cops. You guys stay tuned for more stuff coming out of Texas. We are not by any means getting to the bottom of the barrel of bad cops. There will be more to come, I guarantee you. Watch out for the lawsuits that are ongoing against Leon Valley. Watch out for the lawsuits that are coming against the city of San Antonio, and as well as the city of Olmos Park. You guys stay tuned. We're doing what we can. Have a great night.